Now, for more on the story, we're joined by the Israeli ambassador to South Africa, Ambassador Arthur Lenk from our Pretoria studios. Ambassador, good morning to you and welcome to AM News.
Good morning, Elvis. Thanks for having me.
Now, Ambassador, firstly, what led to the latest confrontation between Israel and Hamas?
Well, what's happened is Hamas is bombing our civilians. And they're just taking rockets and shooting them randomly on the cities and the civilians of Israel. What would South Africa do if a neighboring country was sending missiles on Limpopo or on Gauteng? You'd respond, you'd protect your people. And that's exactly what we're doing.
But why did it happen in the first place? What led to it?
Well, Hamas calls for the destruction of the state of Israel. They continue to do it. They believe that there should be no state of Israel and that we should be gone. And we're going to live there. We're going to protect our people. We're going to try to make peace with our Palestinian neighbors. The Palestinians are not our enemies. But the Hamas continues to act in a manner that's threatening our people and their own.
Now, you seem to be blaming each other on who is really responsible for the latest standoff, because Hamas, apparently, you are blaming them for the 3 youth that were killed.
Well, to be sure, there's no question that happened, that Hamas activists in the West Bank came, kidnapped, and murdered 3 Israeli teenagers. But that's one point. The fact is continually, since 2005, missiles have been coming from Gaza into Israel. Just the other night, 2 nights ago, there was a wedding in Israel. Can you imagine having a wedding and in the middle of the ceremony, an air raid siren goes off and all the guests and the participants and the bride and the groom have to run for cover? You can't live that way. Nobody can live that way. South Africa wouldn't.
Now, the international community has asked for the resumption of peace talks between Israel and Hamas. Are you prepared to go back to the table with Hamas on the issue?
Well, we're not having peace talks with Hamas. We're having peace talks with the Palestinian Authority, and we would like to see those resumed. But Hamas continues to call for the destruction of Israel. We can't exist. We can't be there. There's nothing to talk about with them. I think that there is lots to talk about between Israel and the Palestinians. We're trying to use as much restraint as we possibly can. The Palestinians aren't our enemy. We seek peace with our neighbors in a crazy, complicated region.
Now, in the previous report that we just played, we heard that the Palestinian president, Abbas, has extended an olive branch. But it seems like Prime Minister Netanyahu is continuing to threaten attacks. Don't you think that this will make Israel appear to be the aggressor, though?
Well, but we're not. We're not. We're acting in self-defense like a normal country would in an abnormal region. We're in a region where Iraq is in flames, where Syria, the citizens are being killed by their own governments, where there's instability in Libya and in Egypt. We need to control our area and allow our civilians, our people, to live normal lives. That's exactly what any country would do, and it's exactly what South Africa would do, and it's what we're going to do.
Now, Hamas has blamed you for violating the 2012 peace talks and the illegal occupation of Palestinian land. What do you say to that, though?
Well, Hamas, again, believes that there should be no state of Israel. They're taking missiles and firing them on civilian areas. That's a war crime. They're taking their own civilians and telling them to go up on buildings and get bombed by the Israelis. So they're putting their own civilians in danger. They're putting our civilians in danger. They don't have any respect for human life or anything that's holy. The truth is Israelis and Palestinians deserve better. Palestinians are our neighbors. We need to live in peace with them. Hamas is endangering that peace.
There's also suggestions that Israel is involved in land grabs within Palestine. Is that correct, and do you concur with that assertion?
No, I think that Israel and the Palestinians need to negotiate a peace. That's a separate issue. We need to deal with our tough issues. The Israelis and Palestinians need to get divorced. You in South Africa needed to get married. There's a key difference, obviously. We need to negotiate that peace, and we've been trying for years. The Hamas bombing of civilians is something different. That since we left Gaza in 2005, we have no land interest there. There's no Israeli presence. There's no Israeli claims. Hamas just wants to attack Israel because they want us gone. It's not going to happen. We're going to stay. We're going to live our lives peacefully, successfully, and try to make peace with our Palestinian neighbors, because that's what Palestinians and Israelis deserve.
Now, you're talking about that divorce between the two countries. So where do you see the borders being drawn between the two countries, though?
Well, that's something, obviously, that negotiators have to work out in a boardroom, in a negotiating room, not by sending missiles, not by threatening weddings or people's lives or your own people. We need to recognize each other's existence. We need to respect each other's peace. That's something that Israel does. By the way, it's something that often we've done with Palestinian leaders. It's never been possible with Hamas. That's the reason that, as your report said, that Egypt has no relationship with Hamas. That other Arab governments understand that Hamas is violent, aggressive, and hurts the interests of the Palestinian people.
Now, the United States has been a very close ally of Israel for many years, and the United States President Barack Obama has reportedly now praised the Palestine President Abbas for his commitment to a two-state solution and cooperation with Israel. What is the Israeli government's view on this issue? Do you think that could happen?
Well, we do support the idea of a two-state solution. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said it many times. We believe in a state of Palestine next to a state of Israel, living next to each other in peace. That's good for the Palestinians. That's good for Israelis. We have to talk about it in a peaceful, quiet negotiation. Sending missiles on civilian populations, trying to kill civilians, giving out candies when young people get kidnapped, and celebrating that as martyrdom isn't a way to build a society, isn't a way to move the Palestinian people forward. The Palestinians deserve better.
So what do you see as a solution here?
Well, right now, the Hamas needs to be stopped. The quiet needs to come to the Gaza Strip because that's good for Palestinians and good for Israelis. Once quiet comes back, I hope very quickly we can find a time for peace talks to continue because that's good for Israelis and good for Palestinians. And I think that the international community has to stand clearly and say that such terrorism, such violence, such kidnapping and killing of teenagers is unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and that states are allowed, are permitted, are required to protect their civilians. And that's what Israel's doing in a way that we can find peace and live with our neighbors.
Ambassador Lenk, the United Nations is now holding an emergency meeting regarding the situation. What are your expectations of that meeting?
Well, the Secretary General of the United Nations yesterday, Secretary Ban, was quoted by calling on Hamas to stop the rockets. Stop the rockets. Stop attacking civilians. It's a war crime. I think he's right. Leaders from all over the world are saying that, and that we have to find a way to return to calm, to return to negotiation, to take care of Israelis and Palestinians, and take care of that way so that our neighborhood can go back to a peaceful area.
Ambassador Lenk, thank you so much for your time, and all the best of luck.
Thank you, Elvis.
That was Arthur Lenk, the Israeli ambassador to South Africa. Now, you have to stay tuned. We'll get a response from the Palestinians a little bit later, so stay tuned here on AM News. But right now, it's time for your weather update. South Africa, Arthur Lenk. Now, to get the Palestine side of the story, we're now joined by the Palestine ambassador to South Africa, Ambassador Abdel Hafiz Nofal from our Pretoria studios. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning.
Now, Ambassador, firstly, what do you make of the statement by the Israeli ambassador on what he said on that clip?
I know Lenk very well. He's a good guy. But in reality, there is a problem. I mean, according to our statistics, last statistic, we have more than 76 murders. We have more than 600 injury. We have more than 800 Israeli air attack, and 110 Palestinian houses have been demolished. You know, I believe again that international community toward new challenges. It is pre-planned aggression from Israeli cabinet, from Israeli government toward Palestinian people in Gaza. And I believe the international community should take their role as a responsible to create a peace in this area. Why I said that it planned in advance, because from the day one, they are asking Mahmoud Abbas, our president, to stop reconciliation with Hamas, to stop the new government, unity government. Therefore, it's an interior issue. We don't believe that they should have the right to intervene on that. We need that the condemnation from the international community against Israeli aggression in Gaza, which is, it's put an end for the peace process.
Now, Israel is saying that Hamas is calling for the destruction of Israel. Do you concur with that statement?
You know, backing in the same square, you know, also the Israeli, from their side, the Israeli cabinet, they didn't recognize Palestinian rights since long time. You know that more than me. After the 9 months of negotiation sponsored by the American, we stuck with the wall. The Israel refused to discuss the main issues: Jerusalem, refugees, borders, security, settlement. They continue their expansion policy. They continue the new settlement. During the negotiation, 9 months of negotiation, they built more than 13,000 settlers unit. I mean, also they didn't want a peace. Tell me if Hamas, they don't a peace. Tell me if the Bennett from the Israeli cabinet, Naftali Bennett, he wants the peace with the Palestinians. Also, we believe that in Israel, a lot of people, before yesterday, Lieberman, he left the cabinet because he wants more constructive aggression against Palestinians. Therefore, I think it's a time for the international community to take the responsibility toward the peace process in the area. And we believe that the Palestinian issue is the more dangerous issue in the area, more than Syrian, more than Iraqi, and more than everywhere. And if the international community takes the responsibility to put an end for this confrontation, maybe the peace will be covered the area, and we live together as Palestinians with Israel together in the area.
Ambassador Naufal, but Israel is blaming Palestine for starting the latest standoff by kidnapping and killing 3 Israeli teenagers. Are they correct?
Yeah, but in the meantime, if you remember very well, my brother, our President Mahmoud Abbas, in the Islamic Summit in Saudi Arabia, he stand and he strongly condemning this kidnapping for the disappeared 3 teenager Israelis, and he proposed that to make a joint activities together. But Israel side, instead to give joint activities to find a way with these 3, they are escalate their activities against the Palestinians. They arrest in the West Bank more than 600 Palestinians. They demolished dozens of houses. I mean, they occupied again all the West Bank. And keeping in mind, my brother, these 3 kidnapping Israelis has been kidnapping in the Israeli area, in the area siege controlled by Israeli army. And we also propose our cooperation to find a way where they are.
Now, President Benjamin Netanyahu has promised to continue with the attacks if the rocket fire allegedly by Palestine directed at Israel cities is not halted. Are you willing to stop the attacks and start the conversation?
You know, our president mentioned a few days ago with the Haaretz newspaper that we are ready to go back to the negotiation. We believe in peace. We believe in the future. We believe to live together. But we need our rights. Palestinians, they are determined to reach our right, and Fatah and Hamas together. We want a Palestinian state at the border of 67 with Jerusalem as capital, and to put an end to the problem of the refugees. It is our determined issues, Fatah and Hamas and all the Palestinian fractions, but up to now the Israelis try to avoid themselves for any responsibility for this issue.
Now, I think an issue that's evolving right now is that the United States President Barack Obama, who is a close ally of Israel, has now reportedly praised the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas for his commitment to this 2-state solution and cooperation with Israel. Could this mean, though, that you have more support now from the United States? I mean,
if you're watching very well, my brother, United States, United Nations, European community, a lot of countries recognize the unity government, and they are believing peace. We believe, we hope that Americans try again to sponsor another round of negotiation, but to be clean for everybody. We need that 2-state solution, but we need, first of all, before the negotiation, a clear statement from the Israeli side that they are recognized a new Palestinian state within the border of 67 with Jerusalem as its capital, and to put an end for the problem of refugees. Without this statement, the situation will continue to be difficult.
Mm-hmm. Now, the United States is currently holding an emergency meeting regarding the situation in the country. What are you hoping to get from that particular meeting?
I think, my brother, you know very well that Mr. Kerry, Secretary Kerry, and even Ron, the ex-ambassador in Israel, American ambassador, they are blaming Israeli. They are saying that the main obstacles toward peace process, toward negotiation, is expansion policy, it's a settlement. The settlement process continue to be the main obstacles to the peace process. And I believe, as I watched what the Israeli ambassador mentioned, I believe that enough wise people in Israel to think that also the two-state solution is there in their interest. And as I mentioned also with different media, that we are now between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, we are 12 million. 6 of them are Jewish and 6 of them are Palestinian. If Israel not apartheid state, we are 50-50. Within 10 years, we are the majority. Therefore, in their interest to reach a two-state solution now, not tomorrow. Now, it's a time to reach now.
Ambassador, all the best of luck with the negotiations.